Okay, so today we are going to start. Before starting, Sandeep, hello. Yeah, I can hear you. So, have you installed Tableau in your PC? Have you activated Tableau license also? Oh, mhm. Okay. If you want Tableau desktop license also, I can provide you. So, ping me separately. I will give you the license. Okay. Okay. Yeah, he pinged me. Okay. Okay. So yesterday we stopped the top and bottom end sets. So we have completed in that previous session, and we'll continue doing this top and bottom in this session also. So okay, so whenever like whoever installed Tableau and activated license, so whenever you open Tableau desktop like this, so you will see this user interface, and so these are the saved data sources which Tableau will provide. So if you want to connect to, if you want to connect to the saved data sources, you need to click on these two data sources. Or else if you have any data files with you, Excel or any text files with you, you can directly click on this and you can connect. So, so whenever you start with this sample superstore. So just click on this. So you will see that data. So yeah. So new students who have joined today, so don't worry, I will provide you previous sessions as well, or else I will take an extra session which covers the introduction sessions of Tableau. So now we are going to discuss about how to create top and bottom end sets using ranking. So customer name, so just double click on this and take sales data. And so here we see the sales information of each and every customer. And now I want to visualize this in a bar chart. So I can see the sales information for each and every customer. And this is sorted based on the chronological order. So this is alphabetical order of the customer name. And now I want to sort it based on the value of the sales. So the length of the bar represents the value of the sales. So if the length of the bar is more, that means the value of the sales is more. So if I click on this descending order, so I will be able to see the values of each and every customer. So if I want to see the values on top of the bars, so just click on the label over here. So there I can see values of the sales on top of the bar. Okay. So now the requirement is to create top and bottom end sets. So now let's start with top 5 set. So as we discussed in the previous session, so there is one topic called set. So set is nothing but it's a combination of dimension and measure. And we can apply condition on measure using dimension. And this is a dynamic. I will tell you why it is called as a dynamic set. So I want to create top 5 based on the customer name. So like right click on the customer name, go to create and create set. Okay. And go to this top function and write the name as top 5 and click on by field, set 5. So in this way, we can create top 5 set. So if you put this in the filter, so now you will be able to see only these 5 values, which are top. So just put the top 5 in the filter. Only the top 5 will be filtered. And why we call this as a dynamic is, so in the backend, if the data changes, so the customer names will change. Let's say Scene Miller is in top 1 position at this point of time. But if some data comes and based on that particular data, if Tamara Chanda can go to the first place. So that way it is dynamic. So in the backend data changes, the top position will also change. And so this is how we can create the top 5. And let's create a duplicate of this. So we can also make a cross tab. So cross tab is nothing but a tabular information. So now we have this information in a visualization, but if you want to see it in a tabular manner, so you go here, so we can see it in a tabular data. And but now I want to convert this into a bar chart again, so I can make this duplicate. So now I want to create bottom 5. So I'll name this worksheet as bottom 5. I'll remove this filter and I'll create a new set which will have bottom 5. Just right click on the customer name and create set and type in bottom 5 and go to the same top action and click on by field. Here only you can see the bottom and here you can select 5. So these are the options that we can do. So basically whatever is there in this worksheet, like we have sales here. So by default, it is taking sales. And if you want for some other measure, you can take any of the measure for profit or any based on. So this is the conditions that we can put in the set. So for now, we are taking only for sales. So I'm taking sales and taking for. So we can change the aggregation as well. So by default, Tableau will show you sum as an aggregation. And we can convert this into different aggregation functions, average, median, count, and all. Okay, now let's create this bottom 5 set. Okay, so after creating the bottom 5 set, so it will show you the bottom 5 customer names. So let's put this in the filters. Yeah, so this way we can see the bottom 5 customers details. So this is how we can create top 5 and bottom 5. But the requirement is to create top 5 and bottom 5 in one worksheet. So we need to combine these two different sets, bottom 5 and top 5. So let me do a duplicate of this one. So right click on that worksheet and click on duplicate and write this name as top and bottom 5. So this way, so I have control selected the both sets. So select top 5 and control select bottom 5 and right click on that. So there is an option called create combined set. So click on create combined set and name this as top and bottom 5. So we need all members in both sets. So I want to see top 5. I want to see bottom 5 also. So you need to select this option, which is all members in both sets. So let's take this and remove the bottom 5 filter and now keep the top and bottom 5. So with that, it will show you the top 5 and it will show you the bottom 5. So now let's make use of this filter. Yeah. So at a time, we will get to know top 5 and bottom 5. And now I want to see like I want to put a label saying these are my top 5 and these are my bottom 5. So we need to make use of one of the set which we prepare. So put this in the rows shelf, and so whatever, so let's say we have taken top 5. So when you are creating any set, so if it satisfies the condition, so that will be represented as in, and if it is not satisfying the condition, that will be in the out of the box. So that's why it's named like that. So I want to name this as top 5. Instead of in, I want to name it as top 5. And instead of out, I'll name it as bottom 5. So this is to represent that I have created a set for top 5 and bottom 5. So in this way, so depending on the requirement, we might need to create different types of calculation sets and all. Yeah. So that's about top and bottom and sets. So now let's go to part 2 whole chart. And this is also called as a tree map. So now let's create a tree map. So to create a tree map, just click on this show me button and hover on this one. So the prerequisites of tree map is to have one or more dimensions or one or two measures. So we need to take, so for now we'll take it as one dimension. So basically dimension is nothing but which have descriptive names, dates, all this will come under dimension. So now I'm taking subcategory and sales. So let's go to show me and click on this tree map. Okay. So the representation of tree map is nothing but, so in 3 ways it shows us the data. So we have subcategory sales. So it will show us the number of, the amount of sales each and every subcategory has. So how is it representing? It is representing with the thickness of the color, intensity of color, and size of box, and hierarchy. I will show you how it is representing in these 3 ways. So first is intensity of color. Okay. So if you see, based on the intensity of the color, we can identify that chairs has the highest sales. And if you see the bottom one, fasteners has the lowest sales. So we can identify with color. And the second one is size of the box. So if you see, in all these subcategories, chairs has the highest size. So in that way also we can identify sales as the highest value. And and third and the important one, hierarchy. So tree maps is arranged in a certain way. The left top will be the highest value and the bottom right will be the lowest value. So it will be arranged in that way, so that every time whenever you take any example, or you take an example of any other dimension or any other measure, so if it has the highest value, that will be shown on the left top, and the lowest value will be shown on the right bottom. So that is the process. So that is the hierarchy. So with hierarchy, with the size of box, and with the intensity of color, we can identify tree map. So there is one important interview question that we have. So usually, so they ask for difference between heat map versus tree map. So now we'll create a heat map. So let's take one region. state. Okay, now we have taken one state and let's put sales. Okay, so so this is only based on intensity of color. So heat map is only based on intensity of color. Okay, so by thickness of the color, we can identify that United States has the highest value. So you can click on the label to see the values on top of each and every state. So this way, it shows us the information, but only by the intensity of the color. But in tree map, you have three. So three categories or three sections we have. So it, it, it will represent the data by intensity of color, size of the box, and hierarchy. But in case of heat map, it is only intensity of color. So this is the main difference. So it has two more options. Tree map has two more options. So that's about, so this can also be called as part to whole. Part to whole is nothing but, so let's say we have a different amount of sales, like we have sum of sales as this much. 23 lakh 26,534 dollars of sale amount we have. So that is divided into these many parts to become a whole of 23 lakhs. So that is the importance of tree map. And so these are the steps to create a tree map. So now let's just create a visualization like this. So let's go to Tableau. Let's go to Tableau and create a new, I'll make a duplicate of this one. And I will show sales value on top of this. So just take this sum of sales, control select the sum of sales and put it on the label so that you could see sales values on top of each and every box. So now I want to color these boxes based on the condition that I want to write. So these are some of the basic calculations that we can write in Tableau to color the boxes. If sum of sales is greater than $200,000, then good. Else if sum of sales is less than 200,000 and sum of sales is greater than $100,000, then moderate. Else bad. So this is the color condition that we need to use. Put this in the color box. Yeah. So good, I will color it as green. Bad, I will color it as red. Moderate is in orange color. Okay. So I have written a simple calculation where my sales is 200,000, more than $200,000. I want to show it as green. Where my sales is between $100,000 and $200,000, I want to show it as orange color. And whichever is less than $100,000, I want to show that is in risk, so that I can take action on those subcategories. So these are my lowest performing subcategories. So I want to take action on these subcategories. So Tableau is mainly to take the action based on the insights that we provide. So that is about how to create part to whole chart. Okay, now let's go to spatial chart. So spatial chart is to represent the data in a way where we can locate that particular area also, and in which area the sales is more, or the KPIs. So we have discussed earlier about KPIs, which is key performance indicator. So in every organization, they maintain KPIs, so which tells us whether the business is performing good or bad. So that we can know with the key performance indicators. So in this sample superstore data, so there are KPIs which tells us whether the business is performing good or bad. So let's take sales. So sales is one of the KPI. Profit. So with profit also we can tell that our business is performing good or not bad. So now let's take spatial. So when we say spatial, we need to have geolocation. So click on this. So these many geolocations that we have: postal code, city, state, region, and all. So now let's take an example of state. So if you double click on this, so you will be seeing the chart. I mean the map chart. And now I want to see sales across each and every state. So just double click on this. So by the size of the circle, we will be able to know how much is the sales. So, but I want to see, I want to color the each and every state. So go to show me and click on this map. Okay, so the entire area will be colored with that intensity of the color. So with that intensity of the color, we can identify in that area or in that state, the sales is more. So if you go to some other states, $7,009. If you see this uh, United States, California has $457,688 of sales. So this is about spatial maps. And I have provided steps to create the spatial map as well. So drag and drop dimension, which has geographic role. So when I say geographic role, you need to look for this icon, this geolocation icon. And until unless you have this icon, you will not get this location. And in your data, it has to be the names of the states or names of the cities. If the spelling is correct, then only it will identify as a geolocation. So that is about training session 3. Yeah. So anybody have any questions from the previous sessions, like Tableau session 3? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so it depends on the requirement. Sometimes it depends on some reporting standards. So I will tell you few reporting standards. So let's say if you have any date, so if we take this date and sales, and so Tableau automatically shows us the trend chart. So some basic fundamentals, like these are the fundamentals. So when date is there, some type of line chart, area chart, we need to use. We also have area chart. Okay, so and some of the graphs, so these are the standards for, let's say, if you have any category kind of thing, subcategory, like this. If you have bar chart, so let's take one bar chart. and let's say you have some region. So when we use this pie chart, so if you have values which are less than 6, so in that column, let's say that column should have values less than 6. When I say values less than 6, so take an example of region. Okay, you have only 4 regions: central, east, south, west. And let's take an example of sales, and you use this pie chart. So in this case, you can use a pie chart. Why I say this only you have to use for less than 6. Let's say if you use for customer name. See, it's very hard to identify which customer has the highest value or lowest value. It's very hard to understand. So in such scenario, you should not use this pie chart. You should use bar chart, or you should use a tabular chart for customer names, because you will have lot of number of items in that. So in this case, you should use only region. I mean, whichever column has the lowest number of values. So this is for pie chart. And rest of the charts like map chart or tree maps, spatial chart, that depends on the requirement. So people ask for that. So if you see the spatial map and heat map, so we can do the same thing. Even in the heat map, what I have taken, let's say tree map, right? Okay. Here also I can take an example of state. Okay. See, both the graphs are representing same information. Here also I'm getting the state sales, and here also I'm getting the state sales. So representation wise, it is different. So which one to use? So if you see it's state, right? So you can in this map, you can see where is that location of that particular state. So when you say, which one do you prefer normally? So Ganya, so do you prefer tree map or spatial map in this case? Why? Because you will know the location also in this. So that is the advantage of this particular chart. So that depends on the, sometimes it is requirement, sometimes it is based on how much information that we can give with this chart. So yeah. Okay. Okay, Sandeep, can you tell me what is the difference between tree map and heat map? Yeah, correct. Okay. So then we'll move to the next session. So we have successfully completed Tableau session number 3. Okay. So in Tableau session 4, we are going to connect to one basic Excel file and see what happens when we connect it to data. And when we connect to data, so some Tableau will generate a few of the auto-generated fields. So we'll talk about that, how these generated fields are getting generated, and what is live connection and what is an extract, and how to save the Tableau file. So these things we'll discuss in this session 4. Okay. So now let's take this data into an Excel file. So this is the sample Excel data. Okay, I'll just save this file. So to connect to that Excel, we'll take some new dashboard. So click on Control N. So that will open a new dashboard. Yeah. So once it's open, yeah. So there are two ways that we can connect to data. Actually, three ways. So you can click on Connect to Data here, and you can click on this cylinder icon, or you can go to Start Page. So basically, this is your start page. So whenever you open, normally you see this page. To connect to sample superstore or world indicators, you can directly click here. But now I want to connect to an Excel file. So I'll just click on this and click on assignment 2. Okay. So these are the fields which are there in the file which I have created. So there are only 3 columns. So I can see 3 columns. And Tableau will understand what are the columns. I mean, whether it is a dimension or whether it is a measure, whether it is a string, number, date. So Tableau will identify all those things. So if you see region, so it is a string. Basically, it's a text value. So that is why it is shown with an icon called ABC. And country. So if you give the names of the countries, India, China, Cambodia, so name spellings should be correct. So then only we can see the location of that area. So it's a geolocation basically. So that's why it is represented with globe symbol. And whenever you have numbers, so Tableau will automatically identify it as a decimal or number or float. So let's go to sheet 1. So there are some by default generated fields are there, measure names, latitude and longitude. Okay, now let's put some date here. 01/01/2020, 01/02/2021, 01/03/2022. So this is date. I'll just save it. And I'll go to the Tableau and just refresh the data. So now you see the date. Okay, so when we enter the date values, so it also identified it as a date. So it is shown with the calendar symbol. So that's how we can identify it is a date. And yeah, so by seeing the data, we can understand there are 3 regions. So whenever we connect to any data to the Tableau, so before connecting it to the data, so we need to understand how the data is. So we need to see the regions and countries details. So each region has 3 countries. APAC has 3 countries, EMEA has 3 countries, and North America has 3 countries. So in this way, before connecting to any reporting tool, so we need to understand the data, how it is performed. Like we need to know what is the region column, how it is separated with the other columns. So that information we need to know. And so Tableau automatically identifies country names and it will assign a geographical symbol to recognize. Tableau also identifies which is to be considered as dimension or measure. So in earlier versions, we used to have separate folders like this, dimensions and measures. So it used to segregate dimensions in one section and measures in one section. But in the newer versions, so we don't see any such bifurcation. So we just see all together. And with this icons, we'll get to know whether it is a dimension or whether it is a date, geolocation, number, string. So that information we can see with the icons. Okay, so there are some auto-generated fields. So which we will use it for creating complex charts or advanced charts. So the ones which are highlighted in yellow boxes. So measure names, measure values, longitude and latitude, and number of records. So these are the 5 values which you will get whenever you connect to any data. So we have only 1, 2, 3, 4 columns in our database. So if you see, we have only 4 columns, but here we have, apart from 4, we have extra 5 columns as extra. So we'll see how this can be used. So these are the 5 columns which are created by Tableau. So now let's see what is the importance of measure names. So basically measure names will store the names of the measures. So to explain that, we'll go to the sample superstore data. Why? Because we have so many measures here. So, and in the data that we have taken, we have only one measure in that. Okay, Suganya, can you tell me what are the measures in this table? Yeah, only six. Yeah. Raviteja, can you tell me what is the geolocation in this table? Yeah, country is mostly the geolocation. Region is will not. I mean, Tableau will not understand this region. Why? Because this is in short forms. So if you have cities, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Tableau will identify those names, and even the postal codes it will identify. But the short forms, Tableau won't identify. So that's the reason you see it as ABC. Yeah. So yeah, so now we are discussing about measure names and measure values. So let's just okay. So in this data, so we have these many measures: sales, quantity, profit, discount. So rest all are some calculation fields, sets, and dimensions that we have. So what measure name stores is basically these names. It will store sales, quantity, profit, discount. All these names will be stored in measure names. So let's click on these filters. See, sales, profit, quantity, discount, count of returns. So number of records is there, right? So that is also one of the measure. So whatever is like measurable, those things will be part of this measure names. Basically the headers of the measures. So if you go to the data, okay, so these are my measures. So these are my measures: discount, profit, quantity, sales. Why? Because these have numbers, and measure names will have the names of these headers: discount, profit, quantity. All this information will be stored in measure names. Okay, then what will be stored in measure values? So if you see in this, all these values, so whatever numbers that you see, so all these values will be stored in measure values. So whenever, so this is a combination that you should use. So you can't use measure values individually or measure names individually. You should use the combination. Until unless you use combinationally, it won't work. Why? Because I'll tell you. So you can't add sales and profits. So that doesn't make any sense. You can't add quantity with sales. So what measure values does is it will aggregate and it will keep it together. And whenever you use measure names, so it will segregate and it will show you separate values. So now let's see how it separates. So I just double clicked on this measure values. Tableau automatically took measure names also. Why? Because it's a combination thing. You can't use it separately. You can't take one measure value and you can't see the numbers and all. So what it is showing now, so I'll just click on this label. So sales, the total of sales. So when I say total of sales, go to the end of this. So this is your total, sales total, the sum of all these rows. So in the same way, for profit, the sum of all these rows. So if you go to our data, Raviteja, can you tell me what is the total of this sales? Like, how do you calculate? Don't tell the number. Just tell me how do you calculate the total of the sales? Yeah. So we just take the sum of all these values, which gives us 3,400. So I'll show you that in this one. So here also we'll take measure names. See, here it is showing you sales as 3,400. That means it is showing you the total of sales. In the same way, it is showing you the count of records also. So it has taken this sheet one count, which is an auto-generated field, which came from Tableau, and it is showing you 9. So how many records that we have? We have 9 records. If you see, we have 9 records. So that is why it is showing you 9. So basically, measure name is storing this header values. Measure values are storing this values in that column. So now let's see how we can make use of those measure names. So let's say if I want to create a line chart, I'll put order date and I'll put sales and I'll convert this into month. Okay, now I am able to see the sales by each and every month. But I want to see one more value also, profit also. So I'll just control select this and double click on that pill and type in profit. So now I'm able to see sales and profit together. So I want to see in one single with one single axis. So now I have one axis and two axes, but I want to see in one single axis. So just right click on this and click on dual axis. So now I am able to see two different sales and profit together. So to do that, I'm able to see with dual axis. So this is dual axis. So we'll keep it like this. I'll just make a duplicate of this one. But now I want to see another measure also. So measure names and measure values will come into picture now. Why? Because to create advanced level charts, so we use measure names and measure values. So now let's remove this profit and all. So let's take measure values and put it here. So you can see all the measures at a time. So we have 1, 2, 3, 8 measures. So we can see 8 measures at a time. But I don't want to see some of the measures. I will just pull it out. Count I don't need. Yeah. Profit ratio I don't need. So complex or advanced level charts we can only make with the measure values and measurements. So this is the highest level we can make with the columns that are there. Like if you want to see dual chart or combinational charts, so this is the highest level. But to create some advanced level of charts, so we need to make use of measure names and measure values. So that is the importance of measure names. So now let's go to, yeah. So basically measure name contains all the header names, as I told you. So this particular field is used to create advanced level of charts, and measures can be filtered to restrict the number of measures or KPIs to be shown in the chart. So if we go to the dashboard, so here we can select whichever measure we want to see. So let's say if I want to see only sales and profit, so I'll just select sales and profit and say apply. So now I can see only sales and profit, and I want to add quantity also. So in this way, we can filter out the measures that we want to see. Okay, so to create multiple line chart or combinational charts. So for that also we will use measure names. And measure values contains all values of all the measures. This can be only used with the combination of measure names. Otherwise, it will be a combination of all the measures. Okay, so it has to be used with a combination. So let me show you. So here we have measure values and measure names. So let's see what happens when we take measure values only. So let's put it in text. See, now it has 3,400 and also 9 inside it. So that means it is keeping everything in one box, so which is not identifiable. So if you keep measure names, then only you will be able to see different values. So in this also, if you put measure values alone, you won't see anything. Like everything is combined. It is not summing up or it is not adding anything, but it is showing you all together. So if you want to see separately, then you should make use of measure names. Then only you will be able to see each and every measures value. So that's how we can make use of measure name and measure values. And let's go to another slide. Okay. So latitude and longitude. So we need to have a geolocation. So a geolocation is mandatory, or whenever you have geolocation in your data, then only you will be able to see latitude and longitude in your data. So what is the use of that latitude and longitude? So whenever I drag country into this location, so Tableau will automatically pick this longitude and latitude. So based on that only, this location is appearing. So based on these two informations, based on these two columns only, we are able to locate that particular country's location. So that is the importance of latitude and longitude. So these are auto-generated fields in Tableau. This will appear only if you have the geolocations. Latitude and longitude will appear only if we have geolocation. So geolocation depends on the names that we provide. So mostly it will be state, or we'll start from the higher level, country, state, district, city, postal code. So these are the informations that Tableau will understand. Even if you give 5,08,000, so Tableau will understand that it's a pin code. So let's type in some pin codes as well. Pin code. I will enter it as 5,08,000. So let's see how Tableau identifies it. So let's refresh. Okay, pin code. Normally it should appear as a geolocation, but it got identified as a number. Let's see. or let's take an example of cities. City, Hyderabad, Bengaluru. So let's save this file, go to the Tableau and refresh. Okay, so now city is also identified as a geolocation. Why? Because based on the name. So it is identified Hyderabad and it has identified Bengaluru. What if you give the name as if the spelling is wrong? Let's say Delhu. So if the spelling is wrong, will the Tableau identify it? We'll check it. So let's refresh this data. Okay, so you don't see data for Delhi. So Tableau didn't identify if the spelling is wrong. So we just need to go to edit location and select that Delhi is the location. Okay, let's select different city. Okay, so if the spelling is wrong, it won't identify. And let's correct that spelling for now. Delhi, or maybe it is New Delhi. Ah, okay. Yeah. So it will be New Delhi, I think. Yeah. So if you select New Delhi, so that's based on how the Tableau has the name in it. So based on that, Tableau identifies. So if the name doesn't match as per Tableau, so you need to go to that unknown location and then specify that particular location. Yeah. So that is how we can set the location for each and every latitude and longitude. So based on the name, that information is already been stored in Tableau. So if you write the name correctly, so Tableau will automatically identify. So this will be generated when you have the information of geographical column in your data. So basically Tableau will understand state, country, city, postal code, and country details. And these are automatically generated. If needed, depending on the requirement, we might need to create few longitude and latitude fields. So there are some flow map charts where we can create these two columns which are there. So manually we need to create this latitude and longitude in our database. And with that also we will be able to create different varieties of charts. And this is number of records, which shows us the number of records in the data. Let's say we have 9 records in our data. So if you want to see the number of records, so let's go to our Tableau and take the sheet 1 count. So basically it is showing the count of records in the Excel file that we have connected. Or you can write a small calculation, which is sum of 1. So in that way also it will calculate. the number of records. So that is the process to create latitude, to find out the number of records in the data. So let me ask you a few questions. So what is measure names and measure values? Raviteja, can you tell me what is measure names and measure values? Yeah, correct. Sandeep, can you tell me by which column we will get the longitude and latitude? Okay. Suganya, can you tell me what does measure values contain? For all the measures. Yeah, correct. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about live connection and extract connection. So yeah, sorry, Lakshmi, do you have any questions? Hello. Yeah, Lakshmi. Numbers. Yeah. So in Tableau, how it is like, so date is a dimension, that's for sure. So date, we can use it as a dimension only. And there are some certain things which look like a number, but it won't be a number. It will be a dimension only. Let's say employee ID. Let's say I have an employee ID of 1001, 1002. So you can't add these two things. So in the same way, so anything which cannot be calculated, like you can't add two different dates, like you can't add 2020 with 2021 year. So the numbers or the columns that you can't do any mathematical calculation, that can be called as a dimension. So in date case also it's same. Yeah, so there is a separate session for why is it like how why is it showing in the continuous mode and discrete mode. So even in the, let me show you, even if you take this sales and you can show it as a discrete asset to show the number. So this is a different concept that we have. So for date also we can show. So continuous and discrete doesn't, that is different thing, and dimension and measure is different thing. Date also can be continuous and it can be discrete. Even you can take any country also. So you can take this as count. See, this can also be a continuous function. So these are two different things. If you see continuous, discrete, dimension, measure. So these has different concept, and discrete and continuous can be dimension can be continuous and discrete. Even measure can be continuous and discrete. So don't confuse with that. So I will tell you in the next sessions. I will tell you why is it discrete and why is it continuous. So there is a session for that. I will clearly explain you there. Any other questions? Okay, then we'll move to the next slide. So we are going to discuss about live and extract connection. So live. So in the name itself, we can say that if you are connected to any data source and if you are changing anything in the backend, so Tableau will automatically see that change over here. So let's say if I had one more column, profit column here, and I enter values like this. And save this file. So to see that particular data or to see that information, I need to refresh the data. So let me refresh that data. So now here we have sales and count of sheet one. So as I have added profit also, so you will get one more column here. So I'll just refresh. Yeah. So I also have added employee ID. As it has numbers, Tableau identified it as a I mean, it identified it as a measure only, but we can later change it to string value. Yeah. So that's how we can convert. If Tableau misidentifies any of the column, then we can tell Tableau that that is not a measure, or we can change it to a dimension. Or if some columns are taken as dimension and that doesn't belong to dimension, we need to convert into a measure. So profit is added. So this we have manually refreshed and we are able to see the data. But when you publish something to the server, and if you want to see the data, and you will be able to see that information in live, like the backend. If you change it in the backend, if I change the data like this, even in the Oracle server or in the SQL server, if you change the data, so that data will appear automatically in the front end in the Tableau. So that is what is the live connection. So live connection is like connecting to the data source directly. So whatever change happens in data source, so that will reflect in the Tableau. So most of the dashboards that we are preparing now, we are keeping it live connection. So when do we use live connection? So live connection, basically we use it for, let's say, stock exchange. In stock exchange, we use it for, you wanted to see the data in live, like you want us to see how the Nifty is performing. So you want to see whether it is performing good or bad. So in that case, it's like you want to see the live updates, then you will keep the dashboards in live connection. By default, whenever we connect to any data source, it will be in live connection and it is denoted with a single cylinder. So now we have connected to this Excel file. So by default, it is in this worksheet is also in live connection. And so this is denoted with a single cylinder. This is the icon for live connection. And now let's go to extract one. So it is denoted with a double cylinder. So the main difference between extract and live connection is extract will have the snapshot of the data at that point of time. So at that point of time, let's say now I have 9 records in this data. Okay. At this point of time, 9 records are there. Like later point of time, like after 1 hour, if I add one more record, so that will not be updated in the Tableau file. If it is in the live connection, if I add one more record, that will be added into the dashboard. But in case of extract, we need to schedule. We need to schedule the data, or we need to schedule the extract. So then only it will pick the data. So the minimum time we can keep is 15 minutes. So from 15 minutes to, we can keep it hourly, weekly, daily, weekly, monthly, all these type of refreshes that we can do. So depending on our data frequency, let's say in the SQL Server, data is getting updated monthly on every first. So then there is no point refreshing this daily. So then what we do, we'll schedule an extract monthly on every first. So this way, so if you compare with the fastness, so extract will be more faster compared to live connection. Why? Because so every time live connection has to hit the SQL Server and get the data. So whenever there is a change in the data source, it has to hit the server and get the data. But in case of extract connection, it is taking the data from within itself, within the dashboard itself. It will take the data once in every 15 minutes or hourly or daily or weekly or monthly. So that way extract will be faster. So extract can be done, and yeah. So extract connection is like connecting to the snapshot of the data. Changes that happens in the backend will not reflect in Tableau until unless we do a refresh. So whatever we change that we do at this point of time, so it will not pick up until unless the refresh time comes up. Extract has to be done manually by right clicking on the data source. So even if you want to refresh, let's say manually, if you want to refresh, you can go to the server and then refresh the data source. So now let me show you how to create an extract file. So by default, whenever you connect to any file, you will see it is connected to a live connection. Now just right click on that and click on extract data. And you have two options here. So it will refresh all rows. When I say all rows, it will refresh all the 9 rows. But in some cases, let's say now we already have 9 rows in this data source. Again, you don't want to extract those 9 rows. Let's say I have one more new row. Latam. Some data. So I have added one more new row. Okay. And I don't want to refresh the whole thing. I just want to add only this new row. Why? Because all the 9 rows which are already there. So I don't want to refresh entire thing. So in such case, what I will do is I will do a incremental refresh. So this will help when you load millions of records. In this case, as we have only 10 records, in million, let's say you have old data 1 million records, and you are adding 1 million extra 1 million record. So that becomes 2 million records. So instead of extracting 2 million records at a time, so as we have already 1 million, and you just need to add 1 more million. So to do that, you need to click on incremental refresh, and table to refresh is sheet 1, and column that you need to use based on the date or dates based on the, so that information we need to provide. So here I will give date. So based on the date, mostly these dates will be already available. Okay, and let's do a refresh. So this will create a .hyper file. So that will be attached to the Tableau desktop. So now the data is attached to this file. So this is how we can create extract file. So now you see the icon got changed to single cylinder to double cylinder. Okay, so this is how we can create a extract and live connection. So now let's see how to save this file. So the best way to save this file is do a save as. So there will be two options that we can save this file. One is TWB and one is TWBX. So TWB, TWBX. TWB is nothing but Tableau workbook. So this will store only the visualization. This will store data plus visualization plus images plus custom color palettes. Custom color palettes. So basically everything it stores. So this is also called as Tableau workbook extract. And we can also call it as packaged workbook. Yeah, so if you want to share anything, like if you want to share this file with anyone, so you need to convert this into TWBX file. Why? Because it's a package thing. If you're sharing with anyone who want to see how the data is performing or how the visualizations are, so it's better for you to send it in TWBX format. Otherwise, if you send in TWB format, so they will not have access to the data, so they will not see anything. So it's preferable to save it in TWBX format. So if you share this file with anybody, then they can see all these worksheets, all the data and all. So if you share with TWB format, as they will not have this file, assignment 2 file is in my system. So they don't have access to that file until unless they have access to this assignment 2 file. So they will not be able to see it. So if you want to send it in TWB format, then you need to send this Excel file also together. Otherwise, if you don't want to send the data file, then you need to save it in TWBX format. So that is the process to create the files. So TWBX stands for Tableau Workbook Extract. And this is also called as a packaged workbook. And it will store data, images, custom color palettes, and visualizations. So if you wish to share the dashboards, so you need to send in this format, TWBX format. So there is no need of saving the source files in the shared location. So you don't need to share any data file. You just need to send the Tableau TWBX file. So that is about our session. Yeah, Sandeep, can you tell me the difference between live and extract? Mhm. Okay, perfect. Okay, Lakshmi, can you tell me the difference between TWB and TWBX format? Hello. Lakshmi, can you hear us? Yeah. So can you tell me the difference between TWB and TWBX? Yeah, yeah, correct. Okay, so that's about the today's session. So we have covered all this uh, how to connect a basic Excel file and the difference between live and extract and the difference between TWB and TWBX files. So we will continue in the next session. So whoever joined today, so please try to install Tableau desktop. And I have shared you this Tableau desktop license activation video as well. So go through that video and install Tableau desktop in your system. And if you need help in license activation, I can provide you the key as well. Yeah. So basically, whenever you install Tableau, so you will get a trial version for 14 days. And with the student ID, you can get a license of 1 year. And within that 1 year, you can learn Tableau. So I will provide you that key if you are interested to install Tableau. So once you install, you let me know. I'll provide the key. Okay. So any other questions you have, you can ask. No, TWB and TWBX is that it will store the data in that files. So in extract connection, it will both connections will hit the servers, but live is like it is directly connected to the server. Okay. So okay, live is directly connected to the server. So directly connected to the server. Extract is not directly connected based on the schedule time. Let's say if you are scheduling it for weekly. So weekly once it will go hit the SQL server, it will go hit the Oracle server. So every time it is not directly connected. So whenever some change happens in the middle of that week, it will not pick the data. But in case of live, it is directly connected. So whenever you change one record or one column, so that will be shown in the Tableau dashboard. Yeah. Okay, thank you all for joining. We'll continue in the next session. Thank you.